Hi, I'm Lionel, this is Techloto, and this is my review for the Polar Grit X versus the Fitbit Ionic. Now before we get into it, there's so much to cover in this video, so I'll be leaving timestamps in the comment section below, so be sure to go to that to see the sections that are relevant to you. So when we're considering these two watches, the first thing we have to take into account is that they're both really good fitness trackers. Honestly, just standing alone by themselves, they perform really well, and if you bought either of these watches, you wouldn't feel disappointed. They both do the basics, track your heart rate, they can both be used underwater, and they both have their benefits. This is not a review to say that one watch is absolutely useless, but here I'll get into the details and let you know what really separates these two watches, and by the end of this video you should be able to make a conclusion about which watch is better for you and your needs. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the design of these two watches. When we look at the Polar Grit X, we see it has the normal round clock face and it's more suited to that analog feel. You feel like you're wearing, for the lack of better phrase, a real watch when you have it on. With the Fitbit Ionic, you have a modern feel to it, and with that you're more likely to go for the digital clock face. It only makes sense. I've seen some analog clock faces, I've tried to put it on myself over the years and it doesn't really work. It looks good and there's so many options that you have, so that's a big plus. You can see that the Fitbit Ionic, being the flagship watch of Fitbit at a certain point, tried to go for that premium look, and they did achieve that to some extent. I like the buttons on the side, it's a very simple look and it's easily adjustable by just changing the bands. The benefit of this is that there's so many replacement bands online, so many third-party replacement bands that you can get, but you can also buy the leather bands from Fitbit themselves. The one thing you shouldn't do is take that swimming, it ruins it. But then going back to the Polar Grit X, you have watches like the Polar Vantage V, which are designed to be that kind of all-round premium watch. The Polar Grit X is presented as a more active type of watch, so you're wearing it when you're doing those heavy duty activities, lifting weights, mountain biking. It should be able to handle all of that, but change the bands or even keep the original bands on, it can still have that premium look. It blends in well with any outfit. I do miss the metallic look that I had on the Polar Vantage V though. I look at some of my old videos and just think, oh, I miss that watch, but I just love the features on this watch and I couldn't really give it up. The band is also interchangeable, but the difference is it's a bit harder to remove. But the thing is, this is quite beneficial because that means that the bands stay on for longer and you'll get less wear and tear. The annoying thing that you have with Fitbit is regardless of whatever way they try to design their replacement bands, after a while it just doesn't click into place as well. It just doesn't feel as new as it did when you first got it, and that can be a bit disappointing. Something that's really striking when you first look at the Fitbit Ionic is the brightness of the screen. Honestly, hands down, it's really good. That means that no matter what condition you're in, you can be confident that the brightness is not going to be an issue. The Polar Grit X on the other hand isn't as bright, but Polar has done something really intelligent, which is that they've made it anti-glare. So it's just bright enough that in any setting it works really well. Even on a day like this where it's 31 degrees outside, you go outside, the sun is shining directly on the watch, you don't get much glare and you can see all the details in your watch no matter where you are. There's also a button that you can press in dark settings to make the light come on, but really you can use it in any setting without feeling like you're being blinded. But really, let's get into the features that sets these two watches aside. What are the main differences? What do they offer individually, and what kind of users will benefit from each of their features? Well, let's get into it. With the Polar Grit X, you have things like the nightly recharge, Fit Spark, the cardio load status, hill splitter, and of course, last but not least, you have race pace. With the Fitbit Ionic, you benefit from some of the unique features like the automatic exercise tracking, which is great. You have the work week challenge, the social media aspect of it. You have the ability to load music directly onto your watch and listen to it. And you have the benefit of all the clock faces that you can download and change just to make your watch look new and refresh it every couple of months. But it wouldn't be a real review if I didn't cover each of these features in detail. So starting with Polar, let's first talk about the cardio load status. I feel like I cover this feature in every Polar video that I do, but I just can't say enough good things about it. The cardio load status is basically your watch tracking your exercise regime for 28 days. After tracking the way you exercise for 28 days, it'll give you a cardio load score. So just how much exercise are you doing? It'll say something like 20, 28. That's your cardio load and that's what you can handle. Now, if you start training more than usual, it'll tell you you're maintaining or you're improving. But if you start training ridiculously, then it'll tell you you're overtraining and you're more likely to be injured. If you start undertraining, it'll also report that to you. That's a really great feature and it's helped me not only get fitter, but it's actually helped me to not get sick because sometimes we overdo it and go over the top. The next one is Hill Splitter. I cover it in much more detail in my video. I'll leave a link in the description below, but you can't just rely on Strava. When it comes to Hill Splitter, it tells you how you're doing, how you're performing on different hills, uphill and downhill. That's really great for when I'm going on a run. I want to know how am I performing on that hill of despair that I have to run through, and it really helps you improve your time on those hills. FitSpark is fantastic because again, it looks at your performance, looks at the type of exercises you're doing. So if you're someone who's a gym rat, who's always in the gym, exercising, lifting weights, FitSpark will recommend that it's best for you to do some cardio or to do some mobility work. And the fantastic thing is, it will show you the exercises on the watch. Brilliant. I feel like this is not just a feature that's there, but it's a feature that's moving along with the way your body's functioning and along with your training program. It's really important, and it does set Polar aside. Everyone who watches my videos knows how much I love race pace. Race pace is fantastic because you can set your distance and set how fast you want to get there. So if you're trying to achieve a 25-minute 5k, you set that, and then it'll give you the pace that you should be going. This encourages you to move faster and improves your running cadence as well. So I find that it's been a really helpful thing for me. My time has gone from something like 30 minutes to just about 25 minutes, which is fantastic for me. So when it comes to Fitbit, let's talk about the automatic exercise tracking. It's exactly what it says it is. The annoying thing with some fitness trackers is sometimes you go for a run, sometimes you start lifting weights or playing football just in the park or something like that. But then the annoying thing is you forget to put your tracker on. With Fitbit, once your heart rate gets to a certain point and it's consistent, it automatically starts tracking your exercise. Now this can have a side effect where if you're running late somewhere and you just run to get there quickly, you look at your watch 20 minutes later and the exercise is still running and you just have to make adjustments. But that's the other thing, the adjustments are easily made to your exercises in app as well. When you're using Fitbit, you can sign on to the work week challenge, and your friends who don't even have a Fitbit can join the work week challenge by tracking their steps on their phone. So it's a really good feature, and it's something that brings people together. So Fitbit benefits from that community aspect. The other aspect of it is really the social media. I think it's something that's probably going to get a lot bigger over the next few years, but you see so many people trying to become fitness influencers on there, and I'm sure people will start to stand out after a while. A big selling point for Fitbit though is the fact that they allow you to put music on your Fitbit Ionic. It's great, you can have music on it, it saves you battery on your phone, but the truth is most people use streaming services. I don't really know anyone who's really downloading music to keep anymore. Is it that much of a benefit? For someone like me, it still is. I like the idea of having a few playlists that's just for running, that's just on my Fitbit, or that's just for working out, that's just on my Fitbit. It's nice to have that there. The other feature with Fitbit that really stands out is Fitbit Coach. These are a series of workouts that you can follow along with. The animations are really good and you can decide to do it whenever you want to. When you look at all these features, I think people can already tell what the big difference is. When it comes to Fitbit, it's more about having fun, doing the things when you feel like doing it. When it comes to Polar, it's about actively getting fitter and making sure that you're doing better in your exercises. It looks at it from more of a health and well-being point of view. So it really depends on what your needs are. Are you someone who just wants to have fun, track your exercises and keep in touch with your friends? Or are you someone who's serious about taking your fitness to the next level? And really, as Polar advertises, this is for athletes, while Fitbit advertises to more the daily consumer. If you're a day-to-day person and you want to consider yourself an athlete and you want to get better in your own way, Polar is the way to go. Another thing that will be a real point of frustration for people, and that people don't really cover when it comes to reviews, is the app. You really have to be mindful when you're picking your fitness tracker because the app makes a big difference. I'll be honest, when I first got the Polar app, I was overwhelmed. I just didn't understand how to process the data. I didn't understand how it worked. Later on, I found out that the version on the desktop is so much better because it gives so much more detail. But over time, I got used to the way that the detail was presented on the phone. But when it comes to ease of use, just that simple display, I think Fitbit wins hands down. They just have a really good way of presenting that data in a simple way. But when it comes to detailed information and looking back to say, how do I improve for next time? I think Polar does a brilliant job with that. Again, it really depends on what you're looking for. Are you someone who's looking for something that's just easily digestible? Or are you someone who's trying to get into the details and trying to improve your performance each time? So let's get on to the big topic, sleep tracking. When it comes to sleep tracking, both watches do a decent job. And when I've made the attempt to wear both watches to sleep, I found that they pretty much give me the same type of data. Fitbit will give you good detailed information, much like the Polar, but they hide certain information behind a paywall. So when it comes to looking at your heart rate while you are sleeping, you have to pay for the premium version of the Fitbit app. for you to be able to see that, and I think that's ridiculous. Now, this is where Polar stands out. Previously, I mentioned nightly recharge. Nightly recharge tracks how you slept over 28 days, and then based on that, it will make recommendations on how your sleep was on a current day and say, this is what you should do. You slept well, this is a good day for cardio. You didn't sleep so well, this is a good day for resting. That is brilliant. But if I'm being honest, when it comes to sleep tracking, both these watches are very heavy for sleep. They're light when you're using it day to day, but when you're trying to sleep, it just feels like someone's got something really uncomfortable on your wrist, and it's not comfortable to go to sleep with a watch on your wrist. So you have to start considering, is it worth me tracking my sleep to see how well I'm sleeping if my sleep is going to be affected? Long term, I'll be honest with you, you're not wearing your fitness trackers to sleep unless it's something small like the Fitbit Charge HR, and even that can feel a bit uncomfortable. So sleep tracking, it's good, but is it something you're going to use every day, a month from now, 2 months from now? I'd highly doubt it. When we look at running on the Polar Grit X, one thing that I have to say is really good is the GPS. I think it's unmatched. You have the options to change your GPS to match which one works best for you, whether you're in Europe or whether you're in America. When it comes to running, you have the ability to do so much. Of course, I've mentioned race pace in the past. There's also things like interval timers. There's a lot that you can do. And while you're tracking your exercise, you can see so much information on the watch, and it really empowers you to get the best out of your activities. And the other positive is that once your exercise is finished, you can look at all the details directly on your watch. You don't have to wait to sync it to your phone. You can just look at all the details, look at your running power, your cadence, your time per kilometer. You see all those details on the watch without the watch having to feel slower or lag, anything like that. I think it's really fantastic when it comes to running. When it comes to the Fitbit, it's a bit simpler with the information that you get. You can track the exercise, and when it comes to putting it in app, you do see quite a lot of detail as well, even though it's nowhere near as much as the Polar. But the annoying thing that I find is that Fitbit sometimes underestimates your distance. I did a mile run the other day on both watches, and the Fitbit was still searching for GPS for about 3 minutes. At the end of the run, it had the route just like the Polar, but I just don't understand why it took so long to pinpoint the GPS. Sometimes it makes you doubt the data that you're getting. And what you might also find annoying is that once your exercise is finished, you can see the basics of the data on the watch, but you can't really get into it and track your exercises. You have to sync it first. Both watches, of course, sync with Strava. If you want to see a video on how Strava works and Strava live segments, which is a fantastic feature, just go to the link I've left in the description below. It'll tell you all about that as well. So I've briefly covered how you can interact with your friends on these watches. Of course, with the Fitbit, you have the social media aspect, there's the work week challenge, there's so much that you can do on the app when it comes to Fitbit. When it comes to Polar, it's a bit more personal. You have to accept each person. It seems like a bit of a process, but once you do, they can grant you access to their account, so you actually get to see their exercises and their training. So this is more for trainers and training partners. Like I said before, me and my friends are trying to get a better 5K time. Because of that, I can see when they're running to get a better time, because it's kind of a race. We're quite competitive. I like to see what they're doing during the week so that it gives me an idea of what I need to be doing to keep up with them. Just to briefly cover notifications on both watches, they both pretty much do the same thing. Some behavioral differences are the Fitbit, it's much better at tracking the notifications that were already on your phone before you connected it to your watch. So if the notification's already there, it'll still show up when you connect your Fitbit. With the Polar, it doesn't do that so well, but I found that for some strange reason, it's better at registering notifications that come in straight away. But the benefit with Polar is, not only can you pick up the phone like you can do on the Fitbit, but you can also hang up the call just from your watch. That's fantastic. And the other good thing that Polar's actually done is that you can control Spotify straight from your watch. So you can like songs, you can skip to the next track, pause. I like having that control aspect on my watch. And funny enough, I don't really use it when I'm exercising. I mostly use it if I'm around the house cleaning or something like that, playing music from my phone onto a speaker. I'll just control it from my watch instead of looking for my phone. So it's an extra bonus. I'm sure everyone wants me to sit here and compare the heart rate tracking and say this one has this type of heart rate tracking and this. If you look at all the research that's been done on heart rate trackers, the accuracy can be off from I think about 5% to 27%, which is crazy. But what I always say is, if you're using the same fitness tracker over and over again, the data that you're getting will be consistent. As long as you're not saying that your food depends on the activities, don't do that. You will probably go wrong. You'll overestimate your calories. What I found with both watches is, by wearing it to sleep a couple of times and by doing a high intensity activity like running a few times, it's able to register your heart rate more accurately. I'm not an expert in it, but it's just something that I found to be true over time. So I would say wear it to sleep a few times. It can be uncomfortable, but try it, and definitely take it for a run quite a few times. It will register your heart rate a lot better and you get more accurate data over time. But I'll leave a link in the description where I go into a bit more details about the heart rate and the heart rate tracking and the differences between Polar and Fitbit. So as I said at the beginning of the video, these two watches are really good and they provide something different for each user. But then why have I stopped wearing my Fitbit? If you've been paying attention, you can see in the back that I just keep it there, I don't really wear it. For me, my decision's influenced by some of the features, but really also some of the philosophies of these two different companies. With Fitbit, it feels like their goal right now is to make money and do it as much as possible. That's why some of their features are hidden behind a paywall. I also feel like they don't always believe in their own products. When the Fitbit came out, it had some features that were advertised that still haven't come to market, and it just felt like they just abandoned it because it was meant to be their flagship watch and they decided to go for the Fitbit Versa. That's understandable. They realized most of their market are women and they decided to market to women, and I presume that's worked really well for them, especially since Google bought the company. I love so many of the features on the Fitbit Ionic, and there were some regular updates up until the end of 2019. But when it comes to Polar updates, it just feels different. The features that are added with the updates feels like you're getting a completely different watch. Perhaps it's because I've just had so much more experience with Fitbit, but so many of their watches don't last longer than a year. If they do last, they will just last you the warranty period. Yes, I've had the Fitbit Ionic for more than 3 years now, but that's because I had to get a replacement halfway through the warranty period. All those Fitbit boxes that you see behind me aren't there just for show. They're there because I've had to get replacement watch after replacement watch after replacement watch, and that's with the Fitbit Charge HR and the Fitbit Charge 2. Maybe their replacement bands are a lot better now, but it just feels like the watch falls apart, which is a bit annoying. That's some of the frustration that I've seen in the comments of my videos as well, that so many users are frustrated with having to change their watches regularly. Apart from that, the features on the Fitbit Ionic and most Fitbit watches are pretty solid, and it does what it says on the tin, it just doesn't do it for very long. So what would I recommend? Honestly, it's up to you. It depends on what you prefer as a user. Do you prefer something that it's all already there for you, it's easy to digest, or are you trying to make sure that you get information that allows you to elicit change when it comes to your training and your fitness? For me, Polar watches allows me to do that, and I feel more empowered with the Polar Grit X than ever before. When I was wearing the Fitbit Ionic, I felt like I could have fun with it. I felt connected with my friends. Since I've been wearing the Polar watches, I felt like I've been able to make trackable improvements with my fitness. But all in all, I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know your positive and negative experiences with the Polar watches and with Fitbit watches, and which watch you're more likely to get. Will it be the Fitbit Ionic, the Fitbit Versa? Would it be the Polar Grit X or the Polar Vantage V? If you did find this video helpful, remember to like and subscribe, and also visit the website to get some merch.